All right, here we are for another virtual mentorship session week. We are live streaming not just with the Business Academy, but also on Facebook and TikTok and YouTube and LinkedIn and Instagram and everywhere across the world. Good to have you guys here. I'll be checking the comments in the comment thread on Facebook for any questions in today's session or any feedback, but I'm super pumped for today's mastermind meeting because we have two legends in the chiropractic space, not just in the standpoint, not just clinically creating amazing outcomes with their patients and their clinics, but more importantly, as leaders, they're leading the charge with, building and scaling big practices, multiple companies. And they did that all because they not only did they develop themselves, but they developed amazing leaders within their company. Whenever we use the word phase two, refers to a business owner, a practice owner that has basically gotten to a point where they have an amazing team that's serving their patients. They have a staff and systems-driven practice that allows the practice to grow, whether they're there or not, while we have amazing leaders and team members here in their practices, helping make it work and advance their careers in there as well. So I know Dr. Gary has, for all the employees that are watching today, the managers and the leaders that are today, Dr. Gary has not only grown an amazing practice, but has created profitable careers for many people within the span of his office. Many people that started off as just chiropractic assistants in his company are now managing major parts, if not his entire practice, or managing major parts with his other companies as well. And it just goes to show what it means when you allow your doctor to get into phase two. It allows you to take your opportunity with your professional growth to the next level. And then Dr. Robin here has not only gone from, opening up a clinic, but then growing and expanding it, but also recently, bought her dream building, had some unfortunate circumstances with the dream building happen. She's pushed through that this year and is growing and scaling, taking, more time away from the practice for herself. And obviously has advanced many careers within her own clinic. So with that being said, I got a number of different topics today, but I'll let everybody give a few minutes to pop on for today. We usually have our crowd taking a couple minutes to jump on board. So the focus today, before I introduce them officially, is going to be around, what does it take to be an effective leader? Dr. David, good to see you. Vancouver has arrived. Awesome. Excellent. Good to have you here. We got a few more people popping in right now, but we're going to be focusing on what does it take to be an effective leader, how to lead a team that can operate and grow, whether you're there or not, how to organize an operation, right? A business operation so it can scale and expand. As an employee, because we have many leaders and managers on the call today, as an employee leader, as an employee manager, how you can help lead your team to better performance and while building a good company culture. And then, of course, we'll take your guys' questions, your answers, issues with staffing and team building and getting everyone on the same page and growing and just, any trouble spots you're having with getting to phase two. So we have a few more people popping on board. We got Tiffany hanging out with us. Perfect timing, Tiffany, rockstar office manager from River's Edge up in Bangor, Maine. We got Dr. David from Vancouver here. Got Jennifer here. Hey, Jen. Awesome. Excellent. Alyssa's in the house. Compass Medical. This must be beautiful on that side of the Rockies this time of year. Awesome. And Adrian's coming out with us here also from Baltimore. Adrian, if you got your webcam on there, I'd love to see you. And we'll have more people popping on board as the session gets rolling here. So let's do some quick mic checks. Alyssa, check your mic there because I'm sure you're going to jump in with questions. Alyssa, let's do a mic check. Go ahead, Melissa, just mic check and introduce yourself and where the practice is at.
I'm sorry, you said Alyssa, right?
Yep, sure did.
Cool. So my name's Alyssa. I'm our office manager at Compass Medical in Montrose, Colorado. And I'm excited to be here and learn a little more.
Beautiful. Excellent. Good to have you here. Dr. T and Mallory. Let's go ahead and check your microphone. So when you guys jump in with any questions, there we go.
No questions for us, Ethan. Sorry. Do you want us to introduce ourselves as well? Or?
Yes.
Sorry. Dr. Scott Taylor, Mallory, production manager, Chelsea, office manager, is off right outside the camera shot.
Beautiful. Excellent. So any questions, concerns, things you guys want to jump in on? This is going to be an interactive conversation. Sounds like your mic's working good. We'll dive in here in a few minutes. Okay, Tiffany, quick mic check. 1, 2. We're getting there. Okay. All right, find the mute button there. All right, Jennifer, let me check your mic there for a second, Jennifer. Make sure it's working.
Can you hear me?
Sure can.
All right.
Thanks for joining us
Can you
today.
hear me now?
Yeah, sure can. There we go. That one's working. Awesome. Dr. David, how's your mic doing over there?
I think we're good.
I think we're good. Okay. Adrian, I know you don't have your webcam. It's not working right now, but check your mic there to see if it's working. Adrian.
Hey, is it working? Can you
Sure
hear me?
is. Good to have you on board.
Thank you.
And I have somebody named Billing who just checked in. So if your name is Billing, I need you to let's do a quick mic check to see who's there. Yep, lost him. Okay, let's go ahead and get started then, guys. All right, so Robin, let me go ahead and start with your story. We'll just do kind of rapid fire. If you want to introduce yourself, where you practice, and a little bit about your story going from doing everything in the office yourself practically to getting at a point where you took 2 vacations in 1 month and you have an amazing team that's helping grow your practice.
All right, so Robin Owings, I am from Charlotte, North Carolina. I practice right outside of Charlotte in a little small town called Lincolnton. I started, I bought the practice May 18th, 2015, and it was me, and I had an associate doctor that came with the practice, but we had 2 employees, and that was it. And mine and my other associate's doctor's vision didn't like completely line up, but he was easy to work with, easy to get along with. Started growing a little bit as I came into the practice and started doing some things that I had learned from just being an associate at really high volume practices. But I just got to a mark after a couple of years where I was just at a standstill. I joined TBA. My first time was in November in Atlanta of 2018. And that's just when I learned. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was kind of blind on it. And I knew that I got these 2 courses, the 15 Cures for Executive Nightmares and Overcoming Stress course. So, okay, so I went down to the Atlanta seminar, and then I stayed a week to start on courses. Then the next month, did another course. And in December, bought 4 more courses. Next month, did another course. So I was just, bam, knocking them out, waiting until March, because my first time in Atlanta, my first time meeting everybody, this group gets up and talks about this thing called an IOD and how it helped their practice. And I'm on the front row because, you know, that's me, my first time in there, want to be on the front row, get everything out of it. And Ethan comes and squats down beside me, and I'm like, what's an IOD? And he's like, oh, well, let me explain that. As soon as he explained it, I'm like, I got to get one of those. And literally coming into it, you know, it's all about, can I afford this? Can I afford this? And then at this point, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to do it. And if I'm going to, you know, spend the money to do this, I'm going to go all in, just fire into it. And that's what I did, and just saw my numbers really start month after I took a course and started implementing it, and just saw how it was changing my practice. And it makes you want more. It really makes you hungry. And then getting my staff involved and getting my staff at courses. And definitely my first thing that I wanted to do was get that new patient educator and get them trained up. I think my 3rd course I took, it was the first time I saw Dr. Rademacher speak, and it came with it all these closing handles. I'm like, I need that. So I bought the course, got the closing handles, took it, then got my new patient educator, got her through the ROF course, and then got her through the master closing course as well. And then Dr. Gary offered another seminar, and I can't remember what that's called. Dr. Gary, feel free to jump in on that. You and Bob taught it, and I was able to bring down 2 staff. And again, it was about handling objections. So I brought in my front desk girl, my really rock star front desk, and my new patient educator, and got them going. And, you know, it was just like, I'm texting my coaches and I'm texting Ethan, you know, highest collections ever, highest close ever, highest prepays ever. And it just really started the ball rolling. And it's been great. It's been fantastic.
And then obviously you were able to buy your dream building.
Okay,
That
so yeah.
was
fast forward a couple years later, I had my second IOD, and Ethan came down, and Ethan stayed with my husband and I for like 14 days. We had some stuff before and some stuff after, and we were just riding down to actually a family event that I had. And I said, you know what, Ethan, I want to see about looking into buying a building. And he's like, okay, let's do it. So we just started looking at buildings, looking for buildings for sale. And there was one I had looked at previously that was way out of my price range. I could not afford it. I'm like, and I took Ethan to see it just to see it. And I'm like, this would be my dream. I said, I need to find something like this. It was very big, 7,000 square foot, 2 floors. And I just had so many dreams of what I could do with all this space and how I could expand, like doing a gym. And I have a gym in my office now, and it's free for my patients and for anybody in the community that wants to come in. It's just to be able to provide health and health services in some things that people can't afford on their own. Some people can't afford a gym membership. It's nothing big, it's spectacular, but it's enough. I was able to do that. We closed on that November 5th of 2021, moved in February, started seeing patients February 2022 out of that new office. Come this December 24th, got really cold. I think it got cold all around the country, got really cold in the Carolinas. And we had a pipe burst in the ceiling, and I had ceiling fall in and water coming down for 2 days. Water's coming out of all my doors. My front parking lot was an ice skating ring. Did a whole lot of damage. So I have been renting space, or had been renting space, until we moved back in our office June 1st, as we had 6 months of renovation. So I really went from 4,000 square foot of open practice space to about 300 square foot of practice space. So my work family really got closer, and we learned how to. You just got to persevere. You can't let anything that's bad, like you can't let that change your focus and change your drive. There are some things that did change that we were not able to do. I lost 5 of my staff. It got down to me and my associate doctor, my new associate doctor I've had now for about 1.5 years, and my case manager, office manager. And it was just us 3. I had to learn how to run front desk again. And so it's like things that put you in perspective, but it was really good for us and to build our team back up. And since then, I've had 3 of my employees come back and hired 2 more rock stars. And after getting back into to the building, we had let some things go, like going over our stats every day. And we would go over our stats, but we knew stats were down. Stats were down because we didn't have the space. We didn't have the capacity. We get back in there when the 2 weeks of us hitting our morning huddles, going over those stats, really focusing on our graphs and putting in like all these measurable statistics. Like we're already up 50 patient visits a week in 2 weeks.
That's awesome. That's so cool. So I'm going to say to everybody here, if you feel like you got a problem right now, or problems that are insurmountable, try having your entire building flood, and see what that's like. There's, it's funny. I like hearing these kind of stories because it always gives me perspective. I'm like, man, I thought my problems were big, right? My building I didn't have a flood in my building, and completely, have us move into a building, a tenth of the space. And Rob, I know the one word I took from that is perseverance. I know it's a quality that every one of us have in the Zoom call is perseverance through the exhaustion and the burnout and the problems and the issues, because on the other end of that is success. And it's one of the qualities that we all have to have as leaders. So Robin, thank you for sharing your story. I want to jump in with a couple key topics to discuss today, but Dr. Gary, you mind sharing a little bit about, what was it that got you to phase 2? I mean, we have Dr. David here, who is joining us at your, your conference, Regenerative Revolution Academy. You're partners with the Business Academy. You have your downtown healthcare clinic. You have, my injection training. You have all these different companies that you're able to manage and run, while some are just struggling to just manage the office day to day. What was the 1 or 2 things as a leader, as a manager, as an executive, you really had to dial in to free yourself up in the beginning? And speaking to the managers that are overwhelmed or the practice owners here.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. Number one, I've told my story plenty of times, so let me just get to a realization I had when I was taking courses from the Business Academy. And that was, there's 3 types of employees, right? There's the founder, the dreamer, there's the executive manager, and then there's a technician. And I realized every time I'm adjusting a patient, I'm a technician. And I love to treat patients, but my purpose has always been wanting to help as many people as I possibly could. And I realized I can only adjust so many patients. I just felt the calling to that I needed to be in that founder dreamer role. And to be in a founder dreamer role, you have to have effective managers trained up. And, if I look at just from the standpoint of the leadership course that, hopefully everyone here has taken that leadership course, but it's in order to get his job done, an executive must be someone from whom others are willing to take orders.
Ooh, can you share that course book, Dr. Gary, that you have in front of you?
It's effective. You gotta get it in the right Zoom here because I'm
There it
effective
is.
leadership. So, I think the key thing is everyone, I'm assuming it knows what ARC is, how effectively to use that tool. Because when I first took a course on ARC, Affinity Reality Communication, when I first took that course, it was, I thought I was kind of like, I'm just here to take the report of findings course. I had a 35% closing ratio. I was seeing around 100 visits a week. And I was like, they're starting off teaching me this ARC stuff. Just give me the report of findings. That's what I paid for, right? And in retrospect, that ARC triangle, that tool, it's so effective in everything that you do. It's not just for patient communication, it's for staff communication. And it's a tool that, if used effectively, you turn the page, I'm on page 32. In all great leaders, there's a purpose and intensity which is unmistakable. And when you have that purpose and intensity, and you fine tune it into using ARC, I'm looking for people to replace me on the org board. So when I took the organizing course, I realized I had to replace myself, and I had to give it up to other people who could get the job done. And I'm not looking for perfection. I was just looking for people who had high willingness. And to your point earlier that you said, like, there's staff that have gone into really high positions, that's because I was willing for them to make mistakes. I was willing for them to, I wasn't giving them the answers. I'd always ask solution-oriented questions. What do you think about that? What would you do? And if they were on the right track, I'd let them get on with it, because that's how they learn. And they knew that they had more opportunity with me if they kept pushing me up and out of the organization. Because if I got into that founder dreamer role, man, that's when massive create happens. From the perspective that, you mentioned David was at the Regenerative Revolution Academy a few weeks ago. I've started 2 new businesses since that conference.
Wow.
And it stemmed from opportunity. Because we've talked about this before. Opportunity knocks very softly, but when you are in that founder role, opportunity, you see it. It's not softly. It's like here's another opportunity. Here's another opportunity. But when you're in every single division in your organization, when you're in 5 or 6 different areas of your organization, you don't have time to dream. You're putting fires out. And so I think the key thing is, is a statement here. Others follow those who have the courage to get things done, even though they say they follow those they like. Respect is a recognition of inspiration, purpose, and competence.
Ooh, read that one again. Can you read that one more time, Gary?
Sure. Others follow those who have the courage to get things done, even though they say they follow those they like. Respect is a recognition of inspiration, purpose, and competence. Page 32. So when you have really good ARC, high affinity and reality, you have understanding, and you get people to get on with their work. And it's easier to go into phase 2 when you have effective communication with your team. And your team has, and it's also understanding your team's, what are their goals? What are their professional, financial, personal goals, and line it up with the office and let them get on with it.
That's good. That makes a lot of sense. Let me jump into the group here just for a second. So kind of with that framing in mind, let me let me jump over to Dr. David. I'm going to give you the floor first. From your perspective, what have been some of the more bigger challenges? Again, this is kind of an interactive Zoom session, and this, you kind of get the idea of what our topic is. What have been one of the more challenging aspects of building a team and creating a profitable practice that's going to allow you to kind of separate yourself, right, from it instead of being stuck in it? Maybe we can start the conversation there today.
That's a big question.
It is.
So the first part is selecting the right people to work with, getting the right personalities, getting the people that are aligned with your thinking. And I've actually gone over some of the, I think it's HAT, H-A-T, selecting people. So we're just hiring some new people right now. So I've used some of your videos to help me with my selection process. So finding the right people that will contribute to the energy in the office and what we're doing, that's the big, one of the big challenges. So that was the first part of your question. Now the second part, I forgot.
We can start from there, and I can just maybe hear some best practices from Dr. Gary and Robin on the selection process, right? I mean, you're always trying to find people skilled in the right areas to hold certain jobs and positions in the office so you can confidently pass it off. But what other intangible factors are you looking for, or what other non-negotiables do you have to have if you're going to develop a high performing team that's really contributing to the company culture and making your life easier, not harder? I'll start with Dr. Robin on this one.
Well, just like Dr. Gary said, is the willingness. We do group interviews to begin with. And so we can, you want to watch them come in. We watch them, how they interact with others, are they easily making friends? Are they a little bit more introverted? Are they nervous? And then we go through each of the questions. We have like 25 different questions that we ask. Some is like, what's your favorite hobby? Another is, are you willing, or do you play to win, or do you play to have fun? And then we have like the other questions we go about what's going on, like what we have available in our office, or what positions we have in our office, which one they would be interested in, because you might have somebody that's in therapy that would be a great front desk, and we can bring in a new therapist, so you can move people around based off of who you're interviewing. I've also in this past time, I hired multiple people, even though I was only looking for one for that certain area. And you see who's going to survive, who's going to put in the work. And again, that goes back to their willingness. So don't be afraid to hire 10 when you're only looking for 3. And then they'll also see there's competition, and you'll see who wants to put in the work or who's there to just get paid. And then also you'll see that, that if you read in the leadership book, it talks about people who just care about the union, or they care about the company, the organization itself. So you can really get a grasp on people after a couple of weeks, or, hey, are they just here for a paycheck, or are they here for your organization?
So you're really stringent on your kind of probationary period in that first few weeks too, on this person is not like, they don't have the willingness to go get your attitude on purpose. At the very least, they're still trying to figure out how to do their job, but they don't have that, then it's not going to work out in your office.
Right. And I give everybody the course materials to read through, and I let them know, say, like front desk, or even just like we have visits, like our speeches for each visit, or what our education for each visit. And I'm like, here, you've got, by Wednesday, I want you to know these first 5, and then I quiz them on it. And then, or by Wednesday, I want you to know this whole new patient phone script, even though they can follow it, but I want them to know a heart. And it shows their willingness to go home, put some effort in at home as well, to bring back to the office, to have that drive and that bark.
That's great. Awesome. Dr. Gary, do you want to add to that? Again, finding the right people in today's market. Mediocre potential employees are asking for, 25 to 30 an hour, upon hiring. You're just like, are you absolutely kidding me? How do we overcome the ability to not only attract the most willing people, but also, to do so in today's market? Any tips or suggestions there to add to, as we're starting to build a successful team that's going to get us to phase 2?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Robin on group interviews that you get through it a lot faster. I also agree with, if I'm looking for one, I'm hiring 2 or 3 and seeing who sticks after 30 days.
Good.
I'm also looking for what their motivating factor is. I want to know what their conviction is. I want to know what their purpose is. I want to know, people can say a lot of things, but like when I ask questions like, how old were you when you first started working? If I'm not hearing 12, 13, 14, I'm moving on. I'm not hiring someone who got a job out of college and it was their first job. I don't even bring them on board. I have a policy now. I don't hire anyone in their 20s. The world has changed. I'm being kind of strict on that, but when I hire someone in their 30s and 40s, they typically fare much, much better than someone in their 20s. And I have people who've been with me in their 20s and they do great, but they've worked up through the organization. I just think we're dealing, with it's a different time right now. So I don't want to waste time. I want to bring someone in who wants a career and someone who wants to grow in the organization. So my mindset's different than it was in the past. And I ask questions like, what do they like to do when they're not working? I want someone who's active. I don't want a couch potato. I want someone who watches TV for, 20 hours a week. I'm not saying that's bad. It's just, I want someone who's active, and typically someone who is active is higher on the tone scale, right? So I'm looking for someone who's going to be more cheerful and enthusiastic. So just a few things I look at.
That's perfect. Awesome. Dr. David, great question. Love that. Let me go over to Mallory for a second. Mallory, jump on in here, right? So obviously the last few tips have been more focused around hiring, but what struggles as a production manager managing a team have you run into, either that maybe that you've overcome, or ones that are, gosh, they hit you hard. You're just like, it happens over and over again, and you feel like you're in a hamster wheel when it comes to leading a team and growing a team. What difficulties do you tend to run into?
Well, I'm just relatively just took this position over, so I'm just kind of learning the aspect of it. But just communication wise I'm overseeing like our rehabilitation staff right now. So just kind of, each person, their own dynamic and own personalities, just kind of learning to manage each one individually.
Totally. So let me then just piggyback over to Dr. Gary. And let me actually, before I do that, Dr. Matt, yes, we can. These sessions, guys, the recordings of these sessions are posted to the TBA website under the training vault each and every week, just so you guys know, before the weekend. So you guys can watch the replays if need be. But Dr. Gary, what's the one tip you would give a first-time manager, somebody that's taking on the role for the first time? They were previously a technician, and they were great at, say, day 1, day 2, case management. Say they're great at rehab. They've been a really good technician, worked their butt off, great work ethic, super aligned with the organization. But now they're taking on that role of production manager, office manager, running a clinic, having to manage a team. And as an employee, what would be your piece of advice for them, having been there and done that and kind of played this game successfully, being an executive?
Sure. First off, I think working for someone who is purpose oriented and successful, like who you're working for, like Dr. Scott, you're on the right team. Number one. 2 is, if you go to page 38 on that same effective leadership, on the very bottom it says all leadership is in the final analysis is giving the orders to implement the program and seeing that they are followed. That's it. So in a nutshell, it's you give someone a program, like someone who's working underneath you, what is their valuable final product, and then you monitor them by their statistic. That's it. I mean, so and then you coach along the way. But I think a good rule of thumb is if someone asks you a question, you don't answer it. You just say, listen, what do you think? And if they answer it in a way that's what you would do, just say, that's fantastic, get on with it, well done, high five, move on. If they say something that maybe you've done before and it didn't work, I'll just say, listen, that's a great idea. In fact, I even tried that myself. However, this is what I ran into at that. What else do you think? The more that you can get the people underneath you to figure out their posts and actually solve their own problems, they're going to have ownership on that post, and you'll have to do less of their work. When you're in management, you still have your own job to do. So the more that you get them to do their job, the more time you have to do your job. And then you manage by statistics.
So managing by stats, that's key. I love that. That's good. Robin, let me ask you the same question. Then I'm gonna go to another one of our attendees. Hey, Randy, good to see you. What's up? Dr. Brett Shock's in the house. Hey, Dana. I think we were talking about you a few minutes ago, and I think your ears are burning. Awesome. Robin, same thing. So, okay. I am a kick butt rehab manager, right? Or I'm a great marketer, or I'm really good as a CA, or I'm an awesome front desk, and I'm getting promoted to production manager, right? Or I'm getting promoted to office manager. I'm now going to be managing a team. Kind of dovetailing what Gary's saying, but back to this advice from Mallory here, being a new manager she's used to doing the work herself successfully, hard worker, but now she's got to lead a team to get execution, production, performance. What's the first piece of advice that you would give a new manager who's going from technician to being a lead?
Okay, well, first, everything that Gary said, completely ditto. You know how we are with our statistics, and we manage by that. But I mean, Dana just joined, so everybody, if you guys see Dana, that is my right-hand woman. And you know what? She's had this problem a lot. She has really grown out of it by, like, I think the executive course really, really helped her. That's why I had her get on there. But like, be comfortable with letting go and trusting the other person that has that hat to perform that hat. And it's okay. We have another in our office that he'll get a little flustered sometimes, and I'll be like, Nelson, take 5 minutes, think about it, read through it, figure it out. If you can't, we'll come help you. So it's also like, just try not to fix it right away. Like, give them the opportunity to try and figure it out themselves, to give them the confidence to try and figure it out. And also say, if you make a mistake, it's okay. You can learn from it. So don't beat yourself up about it. But
that's a good, I want to linger on that just for a second, if we can, Dr. Robin. This is a really important lesson I want to make sure we all take to heart. A lot of us are givers. We're problem solvers. We want to help people. It's why you do what you do. And then we tend to, I see this a lot in practices, and Robin, I'll let you just, again, keep lingering on this point if you can. We keep solving our employees' problems for them because you know how to solve it, and they're running into an issue in the back with the patient or in a day 2 or at the front desk. You know how to solve it. And then when they come to you with a problem or a question, they should know themselves. They're competent enough to solve that problem. What do? We solve that problem for them. We tell them the answer to it. And Robin, why does that become damaged? Why does that overload you or Dana as a manager if you're always solving problems for your team instead of, like you said, them getting the confidence to solve it themselves?
Because they're going to continue to do it no matter what. They're not going to want to put that energy in because, I'll just go ask Dana or I'll just go ask Dr. Robin and they'll take care of it. And then here you are, now you're wearing their hat. So here are the hats. If you don't give somebody back their hat, it becomes yours. So yeah, it just becomes more on the person they're going to. Now I'm to the point where I'm like, just go ask Dana. I'm just kidding. But that's what I have her for. But no, we're really, Dana has really worked on that and has done a great job of letting go, especially after it was just us 3, me and her and Dr. Megan, and we got people back in. It's like, you want to give it to somebody. Here, please take this off my plate. And you want them to succeed. So you want to give them the tools to succeed. But if anything, if you do something for somebody, then they're gonna want it and they're gonna expect it. You make them do it themselves, then they'll eventually develop that confidence to get it done themselves.
Absolutely. Hope you guys are taking great notes so far today, right? So it's 3 parts of the organization, 3 types of employees we covered, and the founder, the manager, the technician. It's managing by statistics every day, week, month, quarter. And it's not solving your team members' problems. You got to build confidence and give them systems and training and build confidence in themselves to solve their own problems. And that's when they start solving their own problems, man, that's when you can really run, because then you got a team who's running with you and you can start forward thinking as a manager as well as a practice owner. That's really good. Thank you too for that. It's awesome. Let me go to Jennifer. Jennifer, you're going through the process with, you and your husband, you guys are working this practice to work the process to get to phase 2. You're investing in the TBA program. You're investing in your team. You guys are putting 2 feet forward. I see you here every Tuesday. And I know you guys run into your bottlenecks just like everybody else does in your journey right now. What would you say the number one bottleneck has been for you, where you kind of feel like you're in a bit of a rat race on this whole getting the right team going, getting to phase 2, and letting go of hats effectively to productive team members?
I think for us, Ethan, it's trying to fill those roles of getting that associate chiro that is going to be a good chiro that stays with us. So my husband doesn't have to keep getting pulled back in. Like just a few months ago, he got pulled back in again, and now he's the only chiro. And I've always been the office manager, and I've never really found like the right person that I felt could step up and move into this position. But I think I have somebody in my office now that's going to be able to do that. So I'm excited for her to learn more and train up to be able to do that. But that's always seems our roadblock. Like right as we get there, or we get that person hired or trained, it's good for like 6 months, and we're like, oh, this is good, we can take a vacation. And then all of a sudden, boom, we get hit, and we feel like we go right back to that square one of now we got to find another chiro, or this person quit, now I got to cover that position until I can get back to my position. So that's been our roadblocks.
And been that dance. I want to ask Robin a question here in a second about onboarding an office manager with Dana here as well. But I first want to get, so before I go into that question, though, I'm going to hold that thought with Robin and Dana for a second. But Dr. Gary, you just were hosting a mastermind this last weekend with 7th Division. You had Dr. Brian was zooming in from, he was out of the country on vacation with family, and he was sharing some good gold nuggets on, retaining a good associate and how to invest in them and how to find them. Anything that stood out to you in that conversation that even just a little gold nugget, little bullet point that was kind of a novel or a little innovative on attracting or finding a good associate?
Yeah, I think a couple things, and I'll ask that question, but I would, the HR, the hiring course is something I would take, because if you have to consistently be in communication with your team on an ongoing basis. If someone leaves, after 6 months, they've already been thinking of leaving for 3, and so if you're having effective meetings with your team, you're going to know who's on their way out before that actually happens, and that is spelled out in that course. A couple of things coming that I think will really be beneficial is, Ethan and I are actually getting into some of the chiropractic colleges. We're going to start lecturing to them on business. And so we're actually going to be, I think a secondary effect of that is going to be finding the cream of the crop in these colleges who want to work for TBA clients. And so I think we'll be able to find, good people coming out of school. But then having said that, when you're looking for an associate, there's 3 types of associates. There's you got to be careful on who you're hiring, because if you hire an alpha, like an alpha male or female, they're not going to stay with you but 6 months. Like if you hire that rock solid, associate, if they don't have ownership opportunities, or you're not expanding into a second office, they're not going to stay long. And I'm telling you these things because I've made every mistake in the book. I mean, I've had that same problem, right? Dr. Dahmer has a fantastic model in how he brings an associate on, and he's never lost an associate, which I commend him highly on that, because he has a system to, for lack of better words, throws the golden handcuffs on them. Like they have such a good deal to work for him. It'd be silly for them to go start their own practice, right? So he's someone who, Jennifer, I would go back to the recording. If you weren't, at the workshop, or if you weren't, tuning in, he'd be someone I would listen to, because he has a great model of bringing associates on. That's my 2 cents for you. I have more than that, but I'll take up all this whole hour.
Awesome. Cool. And Robin, let me switch gears there for a second. And Dana, feel free to jump in if you're still there. Yeah, she is. Good. So Jennifer is essentially, she's got a gallant, she feels confident and competent with, that can start taking over parts of that office manager role. So that's something different for most offices, but at the same time, what tips would you have for Jennifer in starting to pass that hat of the office manager hat? Because Dr. Robin, at a certain point, you were wearing that hat yourself. You were the practice owner and office manager, and doing all the hats. But tips on rolling that out successfully, so that new office manager can be successful, and the transition can happen seamlessly.
Well, I've got lucky, Jennifer, in terms of having Dana in my presence. But just seeing her fire and drive, and if this person that you are considering, if you see the similarities within yourself, within her, just do it, just jump, go for it. Trust, really communicate with her. And Dana was on board. I said, do you want to do this? And she's like, yes. I said, all right, you're going to have to do these courses. And she's like, when can I go? And then like, there's one, Arizona was going on, and she's like, can you send me to Arizona? I want to go to Arizona for a course. And like, so she just has that willingness and drive. But also she knows what I want, how I think. We just developed that type of relationship. Everybody thinks we're sisters, and we just kind of go with it now. We just don't even correct anybody. And our personalities are so similar that I can step away and she knows what I want. And sometimes she knows better what to do than what I want, and she handles it better than what I would. And I come back, I'm like, wow, glad I didn't think of that. Enough so that I went to Costa Rica with the team last year. And when I was down there, my team sent me a video of how their week was, of, we didn't only hit this number, we hit this. And like they had this whole party and videoed it for me. And I'm like, well, what the heck am I going back for? I extended my plane ticket 4 more days and ended up staying like a total of 2 weeks. So, once you let go, when you see that it's gonna function without you, you'll get that confidence, and you'll become more relaxed about it. But you just gotta trust and let go.
Yeah, and I'm gonna pop in real quick. But that was one of the things she was looking at building and buying her own practice and things like that. And I was like, yes, give it to me. Like, let me take it. And we do. And I almost started crying because we do have such a good relationship, and it's not just here, but it's at work. But I think so much like her, and I know where she's coming from. I know her expectations. And so when she's not here, things are still getting done the exact way that I know that she would want them. I don't have to call and ask her how she wants something done, because I know what she wants. I know how she wants it done. And we just have such good communication and trust. She trusts that I'm really going to do what I'm telling her I'm going to do, and I'm going to do what's best for our office. And it's not, and that's one thing we practice here. It's not her office, it's our office. Like, this is our office, and we do things together. And that's what we all do. And when I train staff, I do the exact same thing. I train them as her expectations as well. And we are, our stats are going back up. We've, of course, I'm sure everybody knows we've had probably the worst 6 months recently, but just within a couple of weeks, like, our stats are, we've kind of did some staff changing and moved some things around, but our things are going up, and we're super excited about that. But it all comes from just our team and having a great support system for each other.
That's huge. And just to clarify, for those that were latecomers to today's Zoom, they went through their entire building went through a flood and went through repairs for 6 months. So yeah, pretty rough 6 months here. You guys are right back in the building now, thank God.
Yes.
And kicking butt, and stats are going back up. That's awesome. So I'm taking from that. Obviously, Jennifer, I think you know this already, and this just goes to everybody else too, right? When you're promoting somebody into an executive role, they got to already be simpatico with you from the standpoint. They got to be able to think like you think. They know your systems and policies and procedures at the back of their hand. They know how to handle the responsibilities that are within their charge. I think that's a key element. Alyssa, as an office manager who came from, a technician position into an office manager position, would you agree with that from the standpoint of onboarding yourself into that role?
Yes. You have to do a lot of training and working on yourself first, so that you can figure out what exactly you're looking for, and not necessarily just model after someone, but really get like the hands-on experience as well alongside that.
Absolutely. That's huge. Awesome. Good. Let me go to Dr. Matt. I'm going to have you jump in for a second here. We're just taking some questions and answers on a few points. Framing of this conversation today has been all around getting to phase 2, leading a team, and getting your team productive and able to be profitable and growing and running your practice without you having to be there. from a leadership standpoint, a team building standpoint, what's been a part of your learning curve, or what have you struggled with either in the months or years being in practice that we could pick the Dr. Gary, Dr. Robbins brain on today?
What I've struggled with probably is, like Dr. Gary was saying, was the giving somebody a task and then following up on it. A lot of people micromanage and they have a problem giving stuff away. I don't have that problem, but I have the problem of later following up on them. So like I'll give them something, expect it to be done, and then I get so busy onto the next thing that I don't follow up. And eventually, it surfaces that it's not being done right or stopped being done altogether. And then it causes problems just due to lack of follow-up. So I don't know. I feel like I just need, I haven't implemented everything from management basics yet. I haven't filled out my whole org board and all that yet. So I think that will help when that comes along. But if anyone has any tips on, I don't know, how they follow up with stuff,
Sure.
I'm open to that.
If a micromanager like who manages every task way too much is over here, I think Dr. Matt is over here, and that has given a lot of freedom, I think, to allow for you to build a lot of practices, but at the same time does create a lot of
They're not being, it freed me up, but then things weren't getting ran as well as they should because people didn't have the oversight and training and stuff that they needed.
Yeah.
Dr. Matt, are you given timelines? And then if you're giving them timelines, are you putting that on your calendar so you know to check in with them within that timeline? And do not give long timelines. These need to be with the GSD.
Yeah, I give them timelines sometimes, but the second part of thing you said of putting it on my calendar to follow up with them, no, probably not doing that.
Yeah, just put a calendar on your desk, and then you have your days where check in with A, check in with B, and then just make sure that you're doing that day, and also make sure that they put that on their calendar so that if you do forget, they come to you, say, I want you to put in your phone to meet me in my office at 10 a.m. on Thursday morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I just get I have a lot of fires that I'm constantly putting out. So sometimes, when you're juggling a few balls and then you take on too many balls and it's just, you can't keep track of them all, they're all in the air. I think I kind of ran into that situation. I had 2 practices, they were going okay, and then I took on two more practices and all at once. And then it was like, and then we lost a doctor in one of the practices, so I'm back adjusting again. And so the practice I'm in, I feel like I'm on top of, but then the other 3, I just don't have enough time to even like follow up. So recently I just hired a personal assistant. So I think that's going to help me get more organized, hopefully, and keep track of, my schedule and help me follow up on things. So we'll see how that goes. Thank you.
That'll be good. A couple other things on that, Dr. Matt, is you're kind of new to the system, and there's courses you haven't taken, and the things you're running into, the answers are in the coursework. Like there's a course just on targets and goals, and it's all about creating project plans and projects, and how you do orders and how you put timelines on it, and that course will help with what you're describing. There's the there's also, as you're putting your organizing board together, each position in your office has a valuable final product, and you manage it by statistics. So like when we talk about valuable final product, we're talking about exchange. So when your staff understand what their valuable final product is, they're exchanging that for a paycheck, right? And you monitor that by statistics. And so when you get really good at monitoring statistics on a weekly basis, management becomes much easier, because the people who are up stat and doing well, it's a high five and you're moving on. Good job. It's an acknowledgement, which that brings up a whole nother conversation. I highly recommend that This is where I failed. Like I used to always look for problems. And so I always figured, hey, if I look for problems and I solve those problems, we're going to grow. But in looking for problems all the time, what I'm doing is I'm acknowledging the problems, the difficulties in the office, and I'm beating my staff down. Versus when I changed it to where I give 5 acknowledgements for every 1 bitch, now I'm looking for what's going well, and I'm acknowledging my team for what they're doing well. And guess what they want to do more of? They want to do more good things. And so it actually it changed the culture. And so, but going back to statistics, if you're managing by statistics, you're high-fiving the people who are doing well. The people who aren't hitting their marks, you're going in and seeing what they need help with. That's it. And it makes your management flow much faster, and it gets your projects done a lot faster as well.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah,
great.
it totally makes sense, because the way I've been managing in the past, simply because I didn't know any better, was, when I would step in when they were down stat, I'd just try to do it for them, or like, I don't know, or quickly tell them how to do it, but then not follow up on it. So
Yeah.
It's good. I think I'm going to get Dr. Randy here on this one as well. Dr. Snyder, I think you're itching.
I'm trying. There we go.
There you go.
Sorry, guys. I am currently at the Orlando International Airport. So we're getting ready to fly back.
Awesome.
So what I would suggest this, and this is what some of the stuff I've taught in my insurance thing that we've done within TBA, but this is every time you want to open a practice, all those little things that were this much of a problem, you're doubling that little problem, and the next practice you're doubling that again, and it keeps getting bigger. So the sooner you have your systems down, your comm lines, your flow for everything that we need to work on, do that before you really open up too many more or get them really down with your staff and your work board. Otherwise, it just creates a bigger monster that you won't be able to control later. So make sure that you're doing your systems, the stuff that Gary was talking about, the coursework and stuff, because otherwise it just multiplies every time you open something. And if you thought you were juggling a lot before, it just magnifies tremendously. That's my input.
Point well made. Awesome. Perfect. Let me do some round robins here, guys. Round robins. Okay. I'll start with Robin with this one then. Hey, Robin, what was the #1 course that had the biggest impact with you as an executive? You've done a bunch of executive courses. What was the #1 that worked? And just briefly, maybe 60 seconds or less, what was the course and why did it have such a huge impact getting to phase 2?
Okay, I got 2. Okay, so the management by basics, like just to get the practice going and everything, and like really just being able to check in with stats. But I don't know if the name might have changed now, but executive fundamentals.
Yep.
That was unbelievable. That was so good. That was the last one that I had Dana take, because I'm like, you need this so badly, just because of trying to help or trying to take on other hats and stuff. We're trying to do it ourselves instead of really trusting. And I don't know, Dana can maybe pop in on that too, but I love that course so much. It was a great course, just so much information in it, and really I just love how it said, and that's what I always come back to it, is there's going to be the people that want to work for the union. There's going to be people that want to work for the organization, and you want the people that want to work for your organization. You need to find out quickly who's who.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And I'm sorry, I was going to pop in. That's 100%. I've never felt such a change in the way I handled things, the way I looked at things, is after that class. Because it helps you learn really quickly when you have the wrong person in your organization, how things will go down. And I never believed that. I was like, that's just, that's whatever, that's crazy. But it is 100% true. We have seen it here really twice, big time. When you have the wrong person in there, you don't even realize it for a while. You're like, what the crap's going on? Like, I don't understand, where everybody's doing this and everybody's doing that. But you don't realize you have that one person in there, and it is tearing everything down. But when that one person is gone, loading their stuff up in the car, your phones are ringing off the hook. Your stats are climbing within minutes. And it is crazy at how you can figure that out so fast. Sometimes you have hard lessons learned, but it's good to find those lessons and fix them immediately, which we did. And it's, it opens your eyes a lot. I was super happy about that course.
That's awesome. And I'll even say the corollary to that is when you find the right person like Dana, the same thing happens, just the opposite happens. When they walk into the building, then the freaking stats go up just by their presence in the first couple minutes. right? So it works both ways. That's awesome. Thank you, Dan. That's great. Hey, Randy, same question. You've been with TBA for going on 11 years now. You've done a lot of our training executive courses. You've done a lot of big things in practice. What was the number one executive course for you, and why did it have an impact on you?
I think it was management by statistics. For me, I had some stats in my office that I knew about. And when I changed over and I started taking details of a lot of different areas, that was a huge, huge thing for me. And it opened my eyes up on the profitability of certain areas, which you thought were profitable, but maybe weren't. And things that you just kind of went through. So that was one of those things that opened my eyes. So I could even break things down even farther. That was my beginning.
That's awesome. That's cool. Dr. Gary, final thoughts there? Your, executive course that impacted you the most and why, and then we'll go ahead and close it out here in a couple minutes.
Yeah, I would say the report of findings course, because that's what catapulted me into closing a much higher closing percentage, which got my office going. Every course is super beneficial. But another big one was just the how to overcome stresses of work and life. I mean, with the ARC triangle and learning just better communication. I mean, because, when you have good communication skills, one of the things they teach is communication is the universal solvent. You just got to keep communicating through things and you'll find your way on the other side, whether it's talking to a patient, a family member, a spouse, whatever that might be. So those are top two. And I just want to end, for me, I'm going to end with, we're talking managers, and owners, and like Dana is an owner. She has psychic ownership of Dr. Robbins' office. And really that's what you're trying to develop. And it's you got to have ethics presence. Leadership has ethics presence. So when you find yourself going into a management role, it's different when let's say you're a front desk person, then you go to office manager. Well, you have to carry yourself differently. That's on page 43 of effectively of leadership course. And as an executive, you get compliance because you have ethics, presence, and persistence, and can't get mad. The way you continue to have ethics presence is to be maximally right in your actions, decision, and dictates. That means you're not on Facebook on the clock as a manager for other people to see you. Like, you have to be maximally right in your actions, because the thing is they won't listen to you if you do not have ethics presence. Like, you will not command the room. And so like you follow all the policies that are in the office to the T. You don't violate policy. You're maximally right in everything that you do. So, I put a policy in for my office a long time ago. Like, I don't go out with my staff and drink. Like, I don't go to parties with my staff. I mean, because the thing is now all of a sudden they're seeing me as something other than, running the organization. I'm not saying to do that. I had to do that for myself because I saw outpoints. Like, I had to maintain ethics presence in my office. So anyway, just my 2 cents on that section. It's helped me tremendously to maintain that in my organization.
Awesome. I love that. And there's a really good point in here in that same chapter. If you continue to invalidate and chop people, to push them down, right? When they're working, they will start to do themselves in even harder, which means they'll start to spin and introvert and worry and get concerned and lose confidence. Self-invalidation, which sometimes our employees go through that, where they just invalidate themselves. They have uncertainty. I don't know if I could do this. I don't want to make any mistakes. I know I'm not good at this at all. I'll never be good at this, right? Self-invalidation is merely the accumulation of invalidation of oneself by others. The point being, you'd better temper the lightning with sunshine occasionally. You can't build up competent people by invalidating them, right? So you have to validate. This is just one really last thing I'll say on this. As a good executive, if you want to build a competent team, you have to validate their strengths constantly. You need to validate what their contributions are and where their strengths are growing. You may seem like you go, well, they're doing a great job. They should just know they're doing a great job, right? But everyone has strengths and weaknesses. And if you validate the rightness and to Gary's point, you put an accent on their ability, meaning you put an emphasis on what they do well, they'll do more of that. And you want to validate this person so much where they build their own competence with their own training and their own experience, but also they have validation from you as an executive with their team that they can continue to do well. So there are times where we're all overwhelmed, we're burnt out, we're stressed. we bite the head off the next person that causes us a problem, but we have to do our job to make sure to, you know, be emotionally professional with our staff and validate them, and to put them in the right position to succeed. And that might be, along with all the advice we've heard today, other great points here from the Ethics Presence article as well. You can't build up competent people by invalidating them. And so just make sure to do your part to continue building people up, give them the resources they need to succeed, and help build leaders within your organization. That's how you get pushed up and out of your organization, so you can build bigger and better things. So with that being said, I want to say thank you to everybody that brought their questions and kind of jumping in and adding to the conversation today. A lot of great bullet points. Even if you heard it for the 100th time, it's worth hearing it for the 101st time, so you can put it into practice that much more. It's the little things we do, the little habits that we have every day that make the biggest difference in our success. So thank you, Dr. Gary. Thank you, Dr. Robin, for taking your time today. Really appreciate it, guys. And we'll go ahead and see you guys in Livermore, California next month. Dr. Matt, we're a few weeks away. Dr. Matt is hosting a training for the Business Academy out in California in his office. Thank you, Dr. Matt, Dr. Alexander, for volunteering in your office. So make sure to join us. We're just a few weeks away next month in July. I'll have Cindy go ahead and put the link in the chat box to register. 4 days, training center and workshop for you and your entire team. We're gonna squeeze every possible square inch we can in that building to make sure we take good care of your team and you guys along while we're going to be on the West Coast. So link to register is in the chat box. We'll see you in July with Dr. Matt in Livermore, California, just outside of Oakland and San Jose in the beautiful Bay Area. Awesome, guys. Until then, have a great day. We'll see you guys next month for our virtual mentorship sessions. Again, every first Tuesday is marketing and new patients. Every second Tuesday is closing and cash services. Every third Tuesday is front desk mastermind. And just like today, every fourth Tuesday will be our leadership mastermind. I'll bring this guest speakers and the experts. You guys just bring your questions, and together we'll grow into a very productive year this year. Awesome, guys. Thanks again to our guest speakers. And thanks for everyone for joining us. Take care until next week. Bye-bye now.
See ya.
See ya.